Even some incredibly soft layers down here. Whoa! That is beautiful. Welcome to the channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It helps out a lot. It doesn't cost anything. It'll just give you a notification when I release a new video. Well, today I'm on South 4th Street in Grand Forks, North Dakota. This house behind me was built sometime between 1888 and 1892. I've got permission to excavate the grounds in search of artifacts, so we'll take a walk around and see what's going on. Here's the house. It's definitely got that classic look to it. It's been re-sided, but the structure looks the same, and it still has the original architecture under the eaves. Really cool place. Here's the back lot. It's got some gravel, some grass, but it's wide open. There's a pit back here. I should be able to find it. You'll see all these holes. That's from a hammer drill. I made some pilot holes so I could probe the ground. And just over here, you'll see I kicked some marks in the ground. Pushed a probe rod through here, hit some compaction differences, what I believe is coal ash, possibly glass. That's a good indicator of an early feature. We'll get this thing opened up. Into a solid use layer, you see this color change, all these specks. These are undigested seeds indicating we're digging in an old outhouse pit. Now there's all kinds of stuff down here. When folks went to the outhouse, they throw their garbage in. Sometimes they drop stuff by mistake. Here's a machine-blown drinking glass. And looks like a shoe polish. Calder's Dentine. Okay, it's some kind of oral health care product, tool top. Yeah, this pit, for the size of the house, seems pretty small. Here's a semi-porcelain plate from the Johnson Brothers, England. It's, I guess it's got a little decoration on the edge, but a fairly plain piece. Broken liquor flask. Couple broken liquor flasks. Oh, and a tool top English ale. It's like a turn mold piece. You know what, that's actually applied top. Likely dates to the 1890s, I'd say. Into a solid use layer. I thought the pit was about done, and then I angle probed in here, and there's just all kinds of stuff. It drops a few more feet, actually. This is old here. I think it might be bone. Sometimes these will have local doctors' names or medical companies on them, or just a standard company in general. This one doesn't, but it's a very old toothbrush. Solid use layer. There's a few things down in here. There we go, Whitmore, Boston. That's an old one. Got some pretty crude embossing on it. It's got these 3 dots on the bottom. Not sure if I've seen that before. Maybe a different mold, maybe even a different company. Yeah, Whitmore Brothers shoe polish. And a serving spoon. Looks like it was silver plated brass. That's my guess. What do we have here? Whoa, W.T. Strong Druggist, London, Ontario. This thing is aqua. Look at that. Aqua prescription bottle from London, Ontario. This thing's gotta be 1870s or 80s. You know, they had all the riverboat traffic coming in from Canada. That is truly amazing. That's significant for this town's history for sure. I think we have some kind of liquor bottle showing here, and I'm finding some broken liquor flasks. Oh, that's nice. Got a pitcher, I think like a water pitcher of some sort. I think that's pressed glass. It's got to be from the late 1800s. Maybe some kind of drinking glass. Mother, 1890. That's really cool. I wonder what's going on with that. It's etched glass. It's definitely the year, right around the time this thing was made anyway, so it's not a memorial piece. Maybe some kind of gift of some sort, maybe for a birthday. And it's like an applied top liquor bottle. It's aqua, kind of unusual. Usually don't get applied top ones in this era, but it could just be a really crudely made tooled top piece too. Still has some contents in it, groundwater probably. Looks like a turn mold piece. I'm down like 7 feet into a solid use layer. It's like a prescription bottle of some sort, strap-sided. You know, tooled top. No embossing on it. Looks like it's full of groundwater. Maybe part of a label, that blue color, but very well deteriorated. I thought I saw, there it is. Clay pipe. No writing on it. Looks like the end broke and they discarded it. I saw a bottle, there it is. Looks like a prescription bottle of some sort. Kind of packed in here, let's see. Blank French square style prescription. I say this, it has kind of a beveled lip on it. Yeah, that's probably 1880s or 1890s, full of groundwater. I'm amazed at how sparse this pit is. Getting like one piece here and one piece there. Alright, so here is a porcelain doll arm. These dolls usually had a cloth body, porcelain arms and legs and head. And a perfume. I'm guessing this is from like Paris, France or something. I know a lot of them came from that area back in the day. FSC on the bottom. I'm not sure what that stands for. That's full of groundwater. I've got a couple more pieces here. Let's see. Little strap-sided drugstore bottle. Huh. It's got a very thin druggist lip on it. It's got to be 1890s. And another prescription bottle here. trying to get this thing widened out. I thought the pit was done, and sunk the rod in one area. So they must have been buying all these from the same drugstore. Unfortunately, they didn't emboss their bottles. Haven't found a lot of strap-sided bottles like this in town. Looks like another prescription bottle. This pit is unusual. I don't know if maybe part of it was cleaned out and maybe a pit was dug on top of it. It's hard to say for sure, but let's see. Another prescription bottle. This one's got some possible groundwater, possible original contents in it. It's probably, yeah, some nasty stuff. Circa 1890s piece. All finished up. Here's the haul. I concluded this was an outhouse pit used from around the time the house was built until about 1900. Got some toiletries, malted milk, some prescription bottles. That one from London, Ontario is really something. Got that pipe, doll arm, shoe polish, ale bottle, liquor bottle, another toiletry, possible extract. That 1890 mother glass is kind of cool. Well, there you have it. I'll get it filled back in. I'm now a couple yards over from where we dug. There was an 1880s house that stood on this lot. I was probing around and hit what I believe is ash and glass. I think we've got another pit. Oh, our first full piece. Look at that. A Davis vegetable painkiller. That's not a bad start. Look at all that opaling on it. That's from minerals in the ground. This has been in the ground a long time. Look at that painkiller, vegetable painkiller. I believe this dates to the 1890s. Oh, some nice dinnerware. That's definitely Victorian era. English made, I'm sure. Semi-porcelain. Look at that, probably 24 karat gold leaf. Yeah, I was just loosening the ground with this and all that stuff flipped up. It drops right into a layer. I think this is wood ash. That's usually indicating an earlier site than the stuff we find with coal ash fragments. Okay, so this was a shoe fly. You know what? No, this was a Philadelphia Oval style prescription bottle. That's definitely pre-1900, some pieces to it. This could get really good here. Wow. That's some amber glass. I think it's a broken beer bottle. Well, there we go. That's an applied top. Applied Bob Top export style beer. We're into something good. Just had this bottle flip out. Schleberg and Griffin. So that was Frank Schleberg. This is a prescription bottle from their pharmacy. I believe this one dates to about 1900. What else do we have here? Calder's Dentine. All right, yeah, some kind of oral care product, tooled top. Broken windows. Broken toiletry. Maybe a chamber pot lid. That's ornate. Look at that. Carter's 1897. An amber ink. That's pretty cool. Tooled top. Look at that opaling on it. And some kind of pharmaceutical. Wyeth. They had a major pharmaceutical outlet back in the day. Their most popular bottles are blue, but that dates to about the turn of the century. Little prescription bottle, French square style. Looks like the top was chipped when they pried the cork out way back when. Oh. And another Schleberg and Griffin. This one looks to be in good shape. The lid might be intact. Like the handles on it. Wow. Look at that pattern. Oh. Floral. See all these lines in it? Those are craze lines. They filled in with dirt over the years, and it's definitely been in the ground a long time. Look at that, kind of a black stamping on it. That's beautiful. It's loosening up the ground. It gets really soft in here. So I'd mentioned all this wood ash. The Sanborn fire insurance maps actually showed wood piles around here, so that explains why there isn't much coal. Let's see, got something there. This one's stuck out. Blake style prescription. I don't think that's from a local pharmacy that I've seen. It could definitely have been used by them, but never seen an embossing pattern on a narrow Blake like this before. And a shoe fly style liquor flask. This could have been from a local saloon. There was actually a saloon on this block. And a Frostilla. Home's fragrance for the toilet. Frostilla. Home's fragrant for the toilet. It's got to be a turn of the century piece. Kemp's balsam. I think this was Kemp's balsam for the throat and lungs. This was likely a sample size bottle. I'll find these in like quart sizes. And the top of an export style beer. That's applied. Definitely an early style. excavates here. Schlaberg and Griffin. Well, we know what their go-to drugstore was. And again, a turn of the century piece. And a blank French square style prescription bottle. Looks like the use layer is starting and this pit seems loaded. It's packed. Let's see. What kind of prescription bottle? I think it's a Usona oval. No embossing the sides, but Usona. That's specific to a certain glassworks. Lydia Pinkham's vegetable compound. Doesn't look like it survived the drop down way back when. This was marketed towards females. It's a patent medicine. Malador Manufacturing Company, Lancaster, Ohio. I thought it was broken, but it's actually got some kind of divot in the side. It was made like that. That's unusual. Must have slid into maybe a holder or something. Never dug one of these before. That's wild. What do we have here? Looks like some kind of oil lamp, possibly. Wow. Look at that. It's intact. Got some groundwater in it. This may have set into a holder. Could have just been like a hand lamp. It's a machine made with a ground lip. And we have another lamp. Huh. Look at that, it's intact. Might be cracked. That's amber. Amber glass. That globe is something else. That was fairly ornate for its day. Yeah, that color change. Definitely some kind of a use layer. Looks like it drops in. Oh, that's real nice. Turn of the century piece. What do we have on it? ZS and Company, Bavaria. See that stamp on the bottom? It's almost like bone china. You can actually see light through it. Very thin. And a little kind of generic piece. Almost looks like it could be like a morphine bottle or kind of pharmaceutical. It's a 3-piece mold. Chamberlain's colic, cholera, and diarrhea remedy. Des Moines, Iowa, USA, Chamberlain Medicine Company. That's got some cool embossing on the front there. It's the Chamberlain Medicine Company, Des Moines, Iowa. Turn of the century patent medicine, super popular during its day. Plenty of household items in this pit. Some ornate dinnerware, those lamps. Kind of a classic residential pit. Looks like a couple beer bottles. Oh. That must be the edge of the pit there. It goes into, seems to be natural clay. Oh, there we go. Export style beer. Made by Reed & Company. That's a tooled, we call this a blob top because it looks like a blob of glass on the top. Reed & Company. This could have been from a local brewer. They just put paper label on it. Got a couple pieces down here. I think maybe another beer bottle. Oh yeah, I got another tooled top piece. WF&S Milwaukee. So you can see partial bib label on it. It's pretty far gone though. WF&S, that's William France and Son. They were a major glass bottle producer during their time. Oh yeah, there's the use layer. Starting to see all these specks. Those are undigested seeds indicating we're digging in an old outhouse pit, which is a prime location for artifacts. Let's see here. That's wild. Just turning into some beer bottle layers here. Here's another one. And look at all these, they're just stacked on top of each other. And another tool blob top, export style beer. Bottom's knocked out of this one. It probably landed on one of these down here. This may actually be a whiskey bottle. We broke in a condiment container. Huh. I mentioned those household items, so that's a Pontil mark. They would have formed this, shaped it with a rod attached to it, and they spun it, and they generally stopped this kind of process for bottles during the 1860s, but it continued on with art glass. Well, even into modern days, it's probably a turn of the century piece. Maybe a liquor flask. They were doing some drinking here at one point. Another beer bottle, broken beer bottle. And another. Huh. Definitely a liquor bottle. It's got a 3-piece mold. You can see this bottom was a turn mold piece. and then another piece here and here, so 3 pieces, and they tooled the top. Whittle Tatum company on the bottom. They were a very prominent glass producer during their time. Not too bad. And a liquor flask. Shoe fly style tooled top. Looks like it's full of groundwater. And yeah, and you see all those specks I was talking about, those are undigested seeds. Definite confirmation we're digging in an old outhouse pit. Getting down into another layer here. There's maybe some backfill. Now, the California Fig Syrup Company, San Francisco, California. Syrup of figs. It has this on both sides. California Fig Syrup Company, tooled top. It's got to be an 1880s or 90s bottle. There we go, Philadelphia Oval. No embossing, but it's definitely in the era we're looking for. Again, 1880s or 90s. Another one, blank. Fortunately, these could have actually dated back to before North Dakota was a state. On another California Fig Syrup Company bottle. Same style as the other one. These were incredibly popular back in the day, around the turn of the century. Okay, so this pattern here, this kind of maroon red metallic color, that's got to be 1870s or 80s. I find these in a lot of Dakota Territory era pits here in town. Get this cleaned out. Looks like some kind of blue bottle here. Broken beer. Alright, here we go. Bromocaffeine. I believe this was used for neuralgia. It was a popular patent medicine during its time. I dug a record number of those in a pit in Dakota, Iowa. Record number for me anyway, probably 10 or 20 of them. Yeah, probably more like 20 of them. All in a small trash pit. The backyard of a, I think, 1880s house. Maybe a 70s house. on a doorknob. Could have been the doorknob to the outhouse. I believe they call this a burl wood pattern. It's actually some kind of ceramic with a coating on it, but it resembles wood. It's like a faux wood pattern of some sort. Here's the hall. I concluded this was an outhouse pit used by the residents in the late 1800s into the early 1900s. It seems the pit had been cleaned out at one point. They used to hire folks to clean these, sort of like what modern day septic tank cleaners do. May have thrown some pieces back in. That bottom layer seemed to have been intact. There's some beer bottles. That strange shaped piece. Liquor bottles, prescriptions, pharmaceutical, ink, some lamps, dinnerware, toiletries, some patent medicines. Well, there you have it. Get this filled back in. We'll now be moving over to North 4th Street. I've got permission to excavate the yard of an 1888 house over there. I'll also be giving some tips and tricks on how to locate these places to dig and what to do. Enjoy. Here's the house. You'll notice the angled peaks. That's a good indicator of late 1880s architecture. You also see the stucco siding. That's likely second generation. The original would have been a 6-inch lap siding. Here's the backyard. There is a cement patio and a cement parking pad, but there is a decent amount of open ground. I've got a good feeling about this. In a lot of my videos, I talk about these old maps lead to the discovery. Well, a lot of those are Sanborn Fire Insurance maps. They were released by the Sanborn Fire Insurance Company in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. This one here is from 1892. A lot of big towns have them from a variety of years. I think Grand Forks has them from 1883, 1888, 1892, 1898, and then a few from the early 1900s. So the house I just showed is actually right here. And there used to be another house in the backyard. It must be long gone because no one remembers it. So maps like these are a good place to start because even if the house is gone, there's likely still artifacts left over in the back. The main areas artifacts will be found is in abandoned wells, cisterns, and outhouse pits. The outhouse pits can be a jackpot. Folks will go to the outhouse and throw their garbage down the pit, usually empty bottles, dishes. Sometimes things would be dropped down. I'll find porcelain marbles and doll parts. But right along the property line here is generally where they put the outhouse. That way it was out of the way. They could turn a carriage around in the yard if they needed. What I usually do is start on the property line and work out. This area toward the back is hard packed. I can't get a rod through. I'm guessing it's been a driveway and a parking lot for a while. Super hard packed gravel. I get asked a lot how I deal with this. Now the answer is a hammer drill. I'll put the specs on the screen. It's got a 3-foot bit. What I do is just use it to drill a pilot hole that I can use for the probe rod. It just drills right through. I mean, this will go right through the middle of an interstate if you need. You can see that it wasn't too bad. I'll just do that a few dozen times and see if there's anything buried back here. The number one thing to watch for are the utility lines. In this case, you see it has overhead power, overhead cable. There is a buried gas line back here somewhere. So always make sure you get the utility lines marked out so you know what's down below. Even when they're marked out, always assume there's a buried line. I've had cases where they've marked them out wrong, and they're only required to mark certain lines. The private utilities won't be marked. Right here next to this brick wall, I was probing and the rod dropped. I got some compaction differences. Now listen. Hear that? That's some crunching of stove ashes, coal ash likely. And the rod drops right in. It's a decent sized area. it was just a little bit. And if you look at the end, you'll see it's that bright white color. That's likely lime that was thrown over outhouse pits way back when to neutralize the smell and disinfect. I think we found the old outhouse pit. So I removed the topsoil with a shovel. From there, I used this two-pronged potato fork. Now it's actually fairly smooth. I mentioned make sure you always know where the utility lines are. I've used this for years. It'll usually graze past them. Won't do any damage. Again, always be careful. But I'll just loosen the ground with this and then just scoop it out with the shovel. Make sure you never dig into undisturbed ground with the shovel, because those will slice right through the sheathing on a utility line. You'll notice the soil is changing colors. We're getting that kind of clay dirt mix. You'll see some layers here also, some nails. See that white color? That's either a mortar or a coal ash. That's definitely not natural. Definitely on the right track. I'm into some incredibly soft layers down here. Whoa! That is beautiful. That is pearly. Oh, there's some writing on the bottom. It looks like the... Well, okay, WT and Company. So it's a kind of plain cobalt blue bottle. Still has the cork in it. That's kind of cool. Then WT and Company on bottom. That's Whittle Tatum. This likely dates to around the time the house was built, maybe even before. That's a really good looking piece. So you'll see all these specks. Those are undigested seeds, indicating we're in an outhouse pit. These usually have some of the best stuff in them, best artifacts, so this is definitely where we want to be. Well, surprisingly, there just wasn't a lot thrown in here, but there is a layer on bottom that I'm chasing. Looks like there's a little cold cream container. It's machine made. Huh. They date to the very early 1900s. I think we're just about less than a foot off bottom. But this is where the best stuff's gonna be. Oh wow. That's kind of cool. Almost looks like an advertising piece. They would sometimes have like a town name on them. I think this is ruby flash. That red, it's not a solid red glass. That would have likely had to have gold added to it. So the ruby flash was kind of an inexpensive way to make the glass appear red. Looks like a Vaseline container. Yeah, there it is. Chesbro Manufacturing Company, Vaseline. So that's an earlier one. It's a tooled top. Likely dates to the 1890s. There's just not a lot of room to work down here, so I'll just do what I can. It's the top to a lamp chimney. A lot of these broke back in the day. They went through a ton of these. And this actually has thicker glass than I usually see on most of them. I think it's a machine-made, machine-blowed piece. Likely from the late 1800s. Looks like a prescription bottle. See, wow, that's a very old piece. This is probably 1880s. Definitely pre-1900. It's a Philadelphia oval style. Unfortunately, there's no local pharmacy name on it. This would have possibly been before North Dakota was a state. There's some kind of a transferware piece down here. Huh. Pieces of a transferware piece. It's a really nice blue color. Looks like some kind of floral design, which was typical during these times. Look at that. It's kind of cool. May have been a chamber pot lid. A chamber pot was an indoor toilet. I'll find a lot of these down the outhouse pits for obvious reasons. Unfortunately, this one's broken. It was from the drugstore of DM Holmes and Company. He actually started the first drugstore in Grand Forks in 1877. Now note this has NDAC. So North Dakota, that's after statehood. I believe it was November 3rd, 1889. But it doesn't date much further past that. I'd put it at no later than 1895. And way down in here, I've just been kind of tunneling, and looks like a coffee cup. There's some other stuff. Wow, that is nice. Look at that, handle's intact. You can see all the unadjusted seeds in there. If there's anything else. Hard patch, don't want to damage it. That's amazing. Look at that, it's maybe got some 24 karat gold leaf. Might just be some kind of paint. I've actually seen this pattern around town. They must have been selling a lot of it back in the day. That's got to be 1880s. I think this pit's almost done. I think I found the edge. The base to a flower planter. That's fairly ornate as far as these go. You'll notice the design hasn't changed a lot. I was actually finding flower planters in mid-1800s pits out in Eastport, Maine that had the same design of one you'd find at a store in modern day. This pit is done. Here's the haul. I'm amazed there wasn't more in here, but it's another spot I can cross off the list. Got some ironstone, broken lamp, chimney, cold cream container, some Vaseline containers, a couple of prescriptions. That cobalt blue bottle's kind of cool. So is that coffee cup. Well, there you have it. Get it filled back in.